Hello, and welcome to the Go There Do That podcast. My name is Ethan, and I'm here with my wife Heather and also O'Malley.
O'Malley.
And today we are talking about the Yosemite Firefalls, which we saw this time last year. Heather, what is the Firefalls?
It's basically like a natural phenomena that happens in Yosemite where the sun hits the Horsetail Falls like just so a certain time of year, about 2.5 weeks in February. And it causes the falls to light up and it looks like basically like lava falling down in the falls. It's even though it happens for like generally 2.5 weeks, it can happen. It's still like kind of rare. Like the conditions have to be just right for it to actually, look like that. Because if it's too cloudy right at sunset, then it won't happen, which we saw twice, where it just didn't happen. Yeah.
Yeah, we stayed there 2 nights, or
No,
four,
we were there for
four nights, but 2 out of the 4
Yeah.
didn't happen. 2 of them did. The first and last night it happened.
Yeah. And it just happens for like a couple of minutes, like right at the end of sunset. So, yeah, it's a naturally occurring phenomena, but yeah, it's kind of incredible.
So we flew we flew there. We didn't drive there.
Yeah, we didn't have time for a drive this
Yeah.
time.
Where did we fly into? Was it Frisco?
Fresno.
Fresno.
I think?
Yeah, Frisco's a Texas.
In
town.
Texas, yeah.
Fresno. Yeah, and then we drove rental car, and we stayed inside of the park.
Yeah, what's interesting, like I was just looking back at like the itinerary and stuff that I had made for it. And I booked where we were staying in June for February of the next year. And yet I still like had trouble. Like I couldn't get somewhere. I got one reservation 2 nights in a row and we were there technically 5 nights. But the first night we were there, we couldn't see the Firefalls because we got there at like 1 a.m. But yeah, so it was kind of hard to get reservations there because it's a popular time of the year at the park. Like I'm pretty sure during that time they do like timed entry type stuff. Like you have to have a reservation in the park. They don't just, and I think they do that in the summer season too, but
To enter, you needed a ticket, like a tag for your car.
Right. Right. Because
Yeah.
it gets kind of crazy.
Because it's in California, so it's close to highly populated areas. So
Yeah. Plus, it's like,
yeah.
word has spread about how cool it is. And so people want to see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when we were there in 2023, they had told us the previous year it didn't happen because there wasn't enough snow. So it has to snow a lot.
It didn't happen at all the previous
They said
year?
there wasn't enough water flow from the snow melt.
Oh, wow. So that's another thing that it could happen, it could not.
There was this guy who called himself Firefalls Fred.
So, because it would
So
light
he-
up the rock either way, but you wouldn't have the...
Yeah, it would
the
just light up the
waterfall.
rock, but not the water that is illuminated. Yeah,
That's crazy.
There's this guy named Firefalls Fred that he said he's there every year.
Oh, yeah. I
And he
forgot
was
you
in the
told
same
me.
spot every single night. He would set up his tripod hours before to get the best spot. But that's the guy I talked to. So
Yeah, I
this
got
is
the
all,
lowdown.
it's all anecdotal. But yes, this was a very strange experience because when we had gotten there, we had reserved a tent
Not heated tent.
with no heater.
Yeah, when we were there, which, was fine, but when we got there, we were like, is there any tents with a heater in it? Because that would be nice. Because I think the first night we got there was probably the coolest night. While we were there, it was like 18 degrees Fahrenheit that night. So pretty chilly to be in a canvas tent with no heater. We did bring our sleeping bags, which are rated for like 15 degrees. But yeah, But we did wind up getting an upgrade to a heated canvas tent that night.
Yeah, but not the last night.
Not the last night.
Right. The last
Couldn't
night we
swing
stayed
that one.
in. Had to sleep in our sleeping bags.
Yeah, you could like see our breath.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was kind of fun though. I mean, it reminded me of our tent camping days.
Yeah.
But it was pretty chilly.
It's very cold.
Yeah. And then we stayed 2 nights in. So the canvas tents are in Curry Village, which is probably one of the more popular places to stay. It's not as expensive as like the lodges, and they have a lot of different accommodations. Like they have the canvas tents, heated and not heated. They have cabins there. And so we stayed 1 night in a heated canvas tent. Then we stayed 2 nights at Curry Village in like one of the cabin rooms.
It's like a hotel, basically.
Yeah. And then we stayed 1 night in the Yosemite Valley Lodge. And then we stayed the last night in a not heated canvas tent.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The lodge was a hotel one.
Yeah, the lodge was the hotel. Yeah.
So there's a lot of places to stay in Yosemite Valley. Mm-hmm. Like they have all kinds of different...
More than most national parks. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because there's, I think the Awani Lodge, I'm probably saying that wrong. You can stay there too, but I think that it was under construction at the time, so it wasn't an option of a place to stay. But yeah.
Pretty cool. So yeah, this very weird experience too, because in our personal lives, we had and we've talked about this before, but we had just been dealing with our dog who passed away, Danny. We had thought that there was something going on with her. We thought it was like a UTI, but
the vet thought it was a UTI.
The vet thought it was a UTI, yeah. So that's what we were like waiting to see. We weren't sure, and it was...
I was literally going to cancel my flight and just like let you go on your own because...
But I was like, there's no way.
Right, but because we had somebody that was going to watch her, but like I could tell she didn't feel good. And then also I didn't want somebody to have to watch her and she's like having accidents, which is abnormal. So I was planning on I think we went to, our flight was on Wednesday, I believe. And I was going to take her back to the vet on Monday and cancel my plane ticket. Kind of depending on what the vet said too. And then on Sunday, that's when she like went south really fast. And we took her to the emergency vet, and yeah, there was like nothing we could do. And so she passed away that Sunday, right before I like canceled my ticket. And so we were kind of faced with the weird feeling of like grieving and like kind of being like, what the hell just happened? And we'd also like we didn't have our car because I had just gotten in a wreck like a couple weeks before that.
Oh, right.
Somebody hit me, and so we didn't have a car. We didn't really know what the situation was going to be with the car yet. They hadn't told us if they were going to total it or not. And so just like all of that was kind of, yeah, we weren't feeling too great, but we were like, we've literally been planning this trip for like a year in advance. Like I did the booking in June, but I had already started making plans for it. And so we decided to go, even though it felt kind of weird going.
That was wild.
Yeah.
Well, because the only thing we could do was like
sit here and be sad.
Wait, yeah,
be at
and
home
they're
and
like,
be sad.
Well,
be in Yosemite and be sad, or be at home and be sad. Which one?
It was crazy.
Yeah.
So we wouldn't know anything about the car, and we wouldn't like.
Yeah. Either way.
Didn't get like Danny just passed away.
Right.
And so
there was nothing to be done there.
There's nothing to be done there either. So we had this weird gap with Yosemite, and we just went anyways, and then saw it.
And I'm so glad that we did, because it was an odd experience because of like our background while we were there, But it was so like beautiful and incredible, and like kind of a beautiful way to be able to grieve.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm really glad that we had that opportunity to do that throughout all that, because I think it definitely made an impact on like our ability to, you know, get through that situation a little bit better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's like experiencing something terribly sad and then something incredibly beautiful all within days, within a week.
Yes.
Like when we came back, well, we started coming back on the next Sunday,
Yeah.
right? From Yosemite.
Literally a week after we
Like
had
7
lost
days
her.
later, we did all that. And
Yeah.
that was
Wild ride.
Yeah. Probably why it's taken
A long time to talk about it and
Yeah.
process it. Yeah. Yeah, we really haven't like talked much about it. I know you've made like a couple of time lapses, but as far as like touching and going through footage, kind of haven't done a lot of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's
But it was an incredible experience either way, but like that was like on our hearts the whole time we were there. But it didn't take away from that experience. Like, I think it might have even like added to it, because I feel like I was just so in awe of that experience, where like, sometimes we try really hard not to be, but sometimes, when you're seeing things like that, you can be like, oh, well, this isn't what it looked like on Instagram, or this isn't, because it's like one of those Instagram versus reality things, because there was so many people there. Like, it was a little overwhelming, like the amount of people like around you, but it was still very easy to forget about all that and block it out and just like see and experience that couple of minutes at sunset.
Yeah. And the first night there was a photographer that was sitting there waiting, and it gets really, really dark, like fast. But the sun had like shown up again, broken through. I don't know if there were clouds. We couldn't really see where the sun was. But yeah, this guy, photographer, he packed up all of his stuff, and he was like close to us, and we were like talking to him a little bit, but he's like, well, I guess that's not happening. And so he got everything. It felt
like it wasn't going to happen. Yeah.
Got everything packed up and was leaving. And so it was like discouraging, because you're like, well, I don't know what it's like. And then everybody starts screaming and seeing it.
Because the sun broke through the clouds like at the perfect time.
And then we saw it.
Yeah.
But he like didn't get it because
he'd packed up a little too early.
He saw the darkness and let it. It allowed him to, or he didn't wait around for the light to show up again. It's kind of weird.
Yeah. Yeah, that's something about things like that. Like, you do have to be patient.
Hopeful.
And hopeful, yeah. Yeah, like I feel like we're bad about that, though. Like, we don't like to turn around, or like, we don't mind sitting a little bit longer, even if nothing happens.
Well, yeah. It's not over until the last light leaves.
Right.
Like.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's interesting, because so I'm like editing the video. Should be posted by the time this is or something. But it's like a companion podcast. But I wrote something while I was editing, because I was thinking about this whole combination of experiences all the time. And so kind of goes with, I don't know, I'm just going to read this because it's what I thought of during this whole experience.
While you were making it?
Yeah. So here it goes. Were it not all so fleeting, there would be no cause for rejoicing, no oath to be fulfilled, no promises to be kept, and never the rebellion of hope.
So there's like a sweetness to those like fleeting moments.
Because if everything lasted forever, were it not so fleeting, like we wouldn't appreciate anything.
Right.
Like
Even life.
Yeah. The 2 minutes the Firefalls lasts, or however long we have a dog
Right.
named Danny. Like, if it didn't end as abruptly, like we got her 6 years in.
Yeah, she was
right?
5, almost 6 when we, like adopted her.
And so it feels like we've had her forever, though. But is like that shorter amount of time. We had her for like half
her life.
the amount of time.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah. Which is crazy. But.
Yeah, we had O'Malley longer than we'd had her because we've had him since he was a puppy.
Yeah. And something clicked in my head, though, because at the end of the Grand Canyon video I did, it was basically me like asking myself why we bring like art back with, or, try to show it to people. Because I said the hardest part will always be letting it all go.
Right.
And so I was thinking about like, am I holding on to these experiences? Like, is that what we're doing?
Right.
Are we just trying to grasp onto memories, and is it unhealthy? But I think the thing that's hard to let go is hope. Because if we would have let the whole bleakness surrounding our circumstances kind of take, it was like, well, we might as well not
like
go.
I don't want to be in Yosemite because I'm sad.
Yeah, it may not even happen. So why should we go?
Right.
It's not likely to happen. If we didn't have hope. So it feels rebellious because it's like it feels like we
felt
shouldn't
weird
have
going on
done
the
that.
trip. Right. Like, yeah. Like I remember people asking like, oh, you're still going? But.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But sort of making a promise, that's the same thing. Is like, well, we said we would go, and now we have no excuse not to.
Literally, yeah. Yeah.
The only reason we wouldn't go is if we didn't have hope that it would happen. So interesting stuff. I don't know.
Yeah. And all the timing of that, like we've talked about before, where it's like Danny was basically like the sweetest creature ever to be born. And so I was like, it's so fitting that she like just kind of passed away sweet and peacefully, and then was like, y'all go.
Yeah, it was like just a flower wilted. It wasn't like, it was like one of the most beautiful things.
It was, right.
But
it could have been way more traumatic than it was. But, yeah. It was beautiful. But, yeah, we can talk more about the Firefalls. I think the hardest part was the, like, buses. The bus situation could be tricky. So if you are, like, doing the Firefalls, be prepared to, like, kind of start getting on the buses early, because the later you would like wait, you would like a bus would pull around and it would be full, and so they couldn't even like stop to take on anymore, and people would get like frustrated because
you're walking.
it is like time. So the bus is on a route, and so it takes a while to get around the route, and so you literally like might not make it to a spot to be able to see the Firefalls if you're not able to like get on the bus. So yeah, definitely recommend like starting earlier in the day and not being like, oh, it's 30 minutes to sunset, I guess we should head out.
Yes.
Because you can't drive to it. There's no way to drive through it. You have to walk from the Yosemite Valley Lodge area, which the parking is full by like 2 p.m. And then, or take the bus over there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's some handicap parking that's close by, but
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is true. Like, we were fortunate enough for that being like our second visit to Yosemite.
Right.
And not like we did a whole lot our first time there, but
No, we were there for 24 hours before we got
yeah,
kicked
that's
out
true.
from the snow.
But it's like we had the objective for getting that because
Yeah.
some
Well, that's
people,
another thing is
yeah,
we literally were like, I don't care what we do for the rest of the day. Our goal is the Firefalls. So we're not going to like be getting lost on like an 8-hour hike and then be like, oh crap, it's sunset. You know, that was like our goal the whole time.
because we had cameras and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
so we weren't. Because there's some people who are like, let's do Yosemite and time it with
Yeah.
the Firefalls too, but getting there,
Absolutely.
getting a spot early, getting on the buses, like it's
Mm-hmm.
difficult to do all that because yeah, what is it? We started like 3 or 4 p.m. like waiting
Right.
there.
Yeah.
So it was like hours that we were sitting there.
And when we first got there, it was like not quite the weekend yet. And so it wasn't as crazy, but that like Friday and Saturday definitely picked up quite a bit. Plus
Yeah.
it was like in the peak time of it.
Yeah.
It's usually like around February, like 10th-ish to the end of February is the kind of timeline for it. And then, so by the time you're like last day of February, it's probably not happening anymore.
Yep.
But that's usually the window for it.
Mm-hmm.
So we were there like the 15th through the 20th or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I tried to kind of do it in the middle.
And then that depends on the weather too, but
Right.
it's a lot of
Right. Yeah. So
factors.
because we saw it the first night and we were in we went to the main viewing area. I can't think of
I mean, it's
what it's called.
where the most people go.
Right. Yeah. I think it's like stop 8
It's like it's a walkable
from the lodge. It's
from the
walkable.
lodge. That's why.
And then we did 2 nights where, because we were kind of overwhelmed by the crowds, and in going on the bus route, we saw this place at like El Cap Meadow area, kind of. No, I don't think it was, because it wasn't the area that was like off limits. There was one area where you weren't supposed to go, and some people had been doing that before. But it was like an accessible area, like stop 9, or I think it was stop 9 on the bus route. And we spent 2 nights at that spot because you could see it from there. It's like a different angle, but there was like no one there. But those 2 nights, it was cloudy, so we saw nothing from that angle. And then the last night, we were like, well, it's our last night, so we'll go back to the normal place and try it there. And then we saw it again that night.
Yep. Pretty weird. Because we tried to rotate spots.
Right.
But then the 2 nights we were at a different spot, it didn't happen. So the only shots I have of it happening are like
In the main spot.
I guess the main spot, yeah. It's interesting. Would definitely recommend.
Another interesting
trying that
thing is that the day that we left, so the night after our last night seeing the falls, this little like part of the rock at the top of the falls collapsed.
Yes.
Like literally the next day after we saw the falls for the last time. And so I don't know for sure, but I feel like it was like a pretty prominent piece of rock kind of at the top there. So like any photos or like videos of it, you would see that little piece of rock. You know, it's not like it falling affects you being able to see the falls, but I feel like it probably looks just a little bit differently now than it did before. But yeah, also they had to like close that area of the park, and you couldn't like see the Firefalls for a couple of days while they kind of cleared that out.
Yep. It was weird. It was the day we left.
The day we left, yeah.
So we were there the last night before this rock slide collapse thing happened.
Yeah. So weird.
Very weird. Yeah. That is interesting. But I was fortunate enough to, so our carry-on, we just had 2 carry-on bags each. And that's difficult when I have to
your carry-on and your like personal.
Yeah. I just count, but the rolly bag was full of the camera stuff
Yeah.
And so getting on the plane, before we even left, there was a guy who the flight attendant saw our sleeping bags, and he was like,
Right. Which they like fold up so small.
yeah.
Like they're the same size as like a neck pillow if you're bringing a neck pillow on a plane.
And so that's what we said. We were like, well, we're going to use
Yeah, I was
them.
like, I'm just going to use that as a pillow.
Yeah. And so he was like, okay. But then he sees my bag, which was the same as yours.
Yes.
But he sees my bag, and he's like, you're going to have to measure that in the little measuring thing. And so I was like, oh, okay. And I like start to push it in. And he's like, you're going to have to check that bag. And I was like,
Can't.
It has lithium ion batteries in it. Like this can't go in the under, what is that called? The check baggage area.
Yeah.
Because you're not supposed to do that. But he was like, well, can you take them out? And I was like, no, you can't. I can't replace anything in here. I packed perfectly. But the bag was a little bit warped because I had a tripod inside of it. So it was a little wonky.
Like, this plane will be late if you make me repack my bag right now, too.
Yeah. And so I'm just always an inconvenience. But most of the time, nobody even cares because I've done it before. It would have fit.
We've flown, like, a decent amount of times, and it has been an issue, like, maybe twice, but not even a big enough issue to keep us from, like, going.
Oh,
it's just like a holding your breath type moment.
We did have a backpack with batteries in it, and they had to take them out and look at them, but...
Well, when we were coming back from Europe, they, like, made us check our carry-on bags.
Oh,
and so I had to shove all of your batteries in my backpack, which is the heaviest backpack I've ever carried.
Yeah.
Like for the rest of our journey home.
So, but anyways, the flight attendant, he's like, you're gonna have to check that, and so do something. So then I take it back. The flight attendant's like, hand me that so we can check it. And I was like, no, I can't check this. So then I like unzip it. I don't really change anything. Put it back. And then
that time it fit.
Well,
like it wasn't too
shoved it in harder.
Oh.
And then he was like, now put it laid down. And so then I laid it down sideways and shoved it in, and it fit.
Yeah.
But that was scary.
It was scary.
But it fit. It was because I needed the tripod to get this shot of it close up.
Yeah, there's literally a tripod and just camera stuff in your carry-on bag.
Yeah.
Like, that's it.
But the shot in this video I'm making, the very last one, it's really cool close-up of the falls. Worth it.
Yeah.
But it would have been really stupid if it didn't work.
Right. You would have felt a lot, different maybe.
Courage and stupidity. It depends on the results.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Because I would have...
Exactly.
You would think I'm stupid.
It really started with our sleeping bags, though.
Yeah.
Because I think... Because I had mine, like, my backpack on, and then I had the sleeping bag, like, on my carry-on, like, sitting.
Yeah.
So I think if I would have had it, like, strapped to my backpack, like I do my neck pillows and stuff, it wouldn't have been an issue. But that's when he was like, you can only have a personal item and a carry-on. Yeah. And then it was like, well, this is like a pillow. And then it, like, escalated from there. Because I think it was kind of like I want to be right, and so do you type of thing. That's
what made me go off on this rant, that there are power vacuums in different areas of life. Like a flight attendant holds a lot of power over who gets to ride on a plane or not. You know, it's like, you're not following the rules. You're going to have to go do this thing. And it's like, it was...
Well, we always just try. I think things usually, even when we've, like, had some awkward moments or, like, scares, neither one of us is, like, an escalating type of person, especially me. And so it just, like, usually calms down and fizzles out because, like, I'm gonna not fight with you about it, and I'm gonna be kind, and I'm not gonna act entitled about it. So it usually isn't a problem once they realize that we're not pieces of crap. Well, because I think that's kind of what they're, like, looking for. Yeah.
And sometimes you just gotta shove the bag into the little bag tester thing a little harder.
Hope for the best. Yeah.
and then you'll get through. But I don't know. It was interesting.
Yeah. But we made it.
We did, and we got some photos. So if you would,
It's actually, yeah, Firefalls is the like most popular piece on our website that's like sold so far. Yeah.
yeah,
So I guess it's a good one.
it is pretty cool. But you got anything else? That's all I got.
I guess that we could talk a little bit about like what we did during the day.
What did we
Keep
do?
ourselves entertained.
Happy Isles.
Yeah, because when we went to the John Muir Trail because when we were there in 2021 at Christmas, and then we were literally about to go on the John Muir Trail, and we ran into this lady that was like, "They're closing down the campground." Like we had all our like we had our backpacks on, like about to go hiking, and then that's when we like found out we had to leave because of the amount of snow that was coming. In a storm, and so we got to go on the John Muir Trail this time, and not the whole thing because it's pretty long, but just kind of tootle around on it. And Happy Isles, we went to like Lower Yosemite Falls Trail, and then you wanted to do Upper Yosemite Falls Trail, and we did go about like a mile in. And got to like the bottom of the falls.
Well, where you could see it.
You could see it.
The expanse of it.
Yeah.
And it's.
But there's still like 5 miles to go from there.
And there was ice all over the trail, and it would just let you slide down.
Yeah, it was not.
To your death.
Not safe, unless maybe you had like crampons on your boots or something. But we did not have those.
Yeah.
And even then, it would have been pretty sketchy. So
yeah,
we turned around on that one.
It's the third highest waterfall in the world. And you could hike to the top of it, but not during February when it's still a little icy.
Well, you can, but
not when you're me with no shoes for it, I guess. And if you stop and say, I'm not going any further, I always test just a little 10% more. So I like went around the corner.
Yeah, because sometimes I'll be like, fine, and we'll keep going. But I was like, nope.
But there's just like a solid ice sheet on the trail that literally was a like angle down.
Yeah.
And that was really hard to get over.
Yeah, I know I can't stop you from doing anything, so I won't. But I was gonna live on to tell your story, so I was gonna turn around either way.
That's fun. Yeah. But if I'd have made it to the top, I would have been courageous, not stupid. But if I died, it would have been stupid.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And then, the Mirror Lake, we went back to Mirror Lake too.
Yeah.
So we revisited the things and we didn't go on any crazy trails or anything. But Happy Isles is like it's like a split in this river, and you can walk in these little, islands, I guess, between the river, right? Like you walk across this bridge. I don't know, it's really pretty. It's just a flowing white river, and you get Yosemite views with those trees and everything. That's cool. But yeah.
Yeah, was that the one? Was that near like John Muir Trail?
It was like
off of it, right? Yeah, yeah. Because I remember we like went off on this spot, and there was this like downed tree, and you could like crawl a little bit on it. So I was like kind of like close to being over the water, and it was like running all peacefully and nice, and I was just like sitting on the tree.
Yeah, you like your flowing water. It's always relaxing. Yeah. You want I heard this the other day, is like, if you want someone to get advice from, try a waterfall or a flowing river or a breeze running through your hair. It's like,
yeah, it like gives you like a feeling. Yeah.
Well, because if you're like in a place with that nature around you and you're like, oh, I need help with something. It's like once you're there, you're like, oh, what am I
I
worried
think
about
it
again?
usually just gives you like the extra push to listen to your intuition.
Yeah.
Like you know what needs to be done.
Mm-hmm.
And then you feel a breeze in your hair and it's like confirmation.
Yeah. Oh, interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. What would you think if you were gonna try something and you get like struck by lightning nearby or something, like
Yeah, that's probably like a,
not to do it?
yeah,
Hmm. So
maybe.
there's yeses and nos.
Right. Or maybe not even a no, but just like a rethink
Hmm.
your approach,
Interesting.
at least.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm. Well, yeah, that was basically what we did in Yosemite again. It feels weird because we spent 5 nights the second time, but the first time feels way more like expansive just because we were
Mm-hmm.
there for the first time. And it was like
Mm-hmm.
a whole different feeling with all the clouds and
Mm-hmm.
everything around us.
Mm-hmm. Well, and
Yeah.
when we were there that time, we were just like full of like wonder and excitement, and we had to change our plans from even like our original plan at that point. But then we were like, yay, we get to spend more time in Yosemite. And like we didn't know that that plan was going to change again at that point. But like this time when we visited, we got to have those incredible experiences, but we were also coupled with like grief and the unknown. Like we literally were we were still in our sleeping bags the day that we left. We were still in our sleeping bags, cold, like you can see our breath. And then we get the call from the insurance company that's like, yeah, your car's totaled. We're
Oh,
going to total your car. So
yeah.
we were like, okay, like nothing we can do here. Like, oh, well, I'll worry about that when we get back. So the whole thing was just, it was so like beautiful, but definitely a different feeling than the first time we were there. I feel like we were like more just more experienced. Like
Hmm.
we lived a whole year of life between the last time we were there and when we went.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. A year and 2 months.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's wild.
Very wild. Yeah. Between the first time that we went to Yosemite and then and so that was December 2021. And then the second time we went to see the Firefalls in February 2022, we'd,
Firefalls
I got a new,
23.
oh, it was 2023.
Yeah.
So it was like a year and a couple months.
Mm-hmm.
So it was, I got a new job. I left teaching.
Oh, heck.
We found out your mom had cancer. We did Blue Ridge Parkway. We went to Europe. And then we got our car totaled and lost Danny. So like pretty kind of a whirlwind kind of time,
That's a lot of life. You're
Mm-hmm.
right.
Yeah.
You
So
said-
like it felt so different, even though not that much time had passed. It felt so different, but not in a like, oh, I'm dark and twisty now kind of way. Just like a almost. I feel like I might have even appreciated it even more, but maybe in a little bit less of like that curious, just like kid type of way, like the first time we saw it.
Hmm.
Like I feel like a kid,
Mm-hmm.
So the second time we went, it's like I feel pretty grown up, but still blown away.
Yeah, it can bring the kid out of you still
Mm-hmm.
when you see it.
Mm-hmm.
The Firefalls, like,
Mm-hmm.
despite whatever life happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty cool. Pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Well, So, you would recommend people seeing it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
What do you think it did for you?
I mean, it just gives you an appreciation of like nature. Like all these things have to line up for it to, you know, for it to work out. And so when it doesn't, it's kind of a bummer. But when it does, it's so beautiful that it's all worth it, which is probably something you can take away in life too, you know?
That's good. Well,
What did it mean to you?
oh, well, I will say it in the video.
Oh, that's fair.
How I'll express it because
Yeah.
it just got done exporting. So
Okay.
I think that'll be what I do now.
Okay.
So.
We'll go watch it.
All right. Well, thanks so much, guys, for watching, listening, hearing
Just a little
things.
bit about the Firefalls.
That's just a little bit. And then our experience peppered in there because, we went and saw it. So.
Yeah, if you're listening to this, you're gonna hear about us too. Sorry.
Sorry for doing a podcast. All right. Well, remember, when you see different things, you see things differently. And that's why you should go there, do that. Thanks.